I think that the strongest, the most, what do I call it? The most distorting aspect of how each of us sees and responds to our experience, our reality, is that distortion lens that we talk about that got put in place with the early wounding conclusion. I believe that it's easy, and it was for this Pali person, it was easy for her to say, well, yeah, I know that. I mean, clearly, if you feel like you're a victim, or you have an idea of yourself, you realize that you may see things perhaps not exactly the way they are. But the level or the degree to which we see our world in this distortion pattern of our early wounding can't be overstated. It's a reality creator. And from this perspective, each one of us lives in an entirely different reality. It may be different by degrees because there's commonality to the wounded conclusion that we have about ourselves based on our early trauma. The 6 steps to freedom process, the reason that it's been the most effective and profound approach to discovering what it is that got installed, because just like eyeglasses, if you have them on and say that you have on orange eyeglasses, then the whole world looks orange. Our distortion fields create a reality that we have been living in, responding to, and believing that it was objective and that it was out there for most of our lives. And so this, people can easily talk about their early childhood wound, but until we actually understand the way in which it informs our experience and our reality in the most dramatic and the most intense way possible, we will not take it on the level of seriousness that it deserves. So the work that we do with the 6 steps to freedom process is the best technology I've ever found, but it's not the only way to be in touch with how you're seeing what you're seeing, especially after you've done a few rounds of that, especially if you've done a therapy or used any kind of psychological approach. You'll quickly realize that you're dealing with a distortion field. Until one realizes that they're dealing with a distortion field, they continue to try to solve the problem at the level of the problem. And there certainly is some efficacy in doing that. We can ask for people to speak to us differently. We can ask for people to treat us differently, but that's not going to clear the distortion field. That may relieve in the moment until the next person. And we then get to ask everybody we interact with, no, you really need to respect me. Because it's like, but the shift that occurs within oneself assures us that the world that shows up, not that the world will change, but that in the vernacular, we won't give a shit, right? It's like, who am I being? Am I being someone who is being informed through this distortion lens that I'm not good enough? In that case, nobody can treat me in a way that will convince me that I am. And so it's an inside job, and that is really the good news, Dad, right? It's like the realization that across the board, if I've got a problem, I am the problem, and in that regard, I have access to it. It's not about blaming oneself. It's about seeing how reality works so that I can engage it at the level of cause, which is here. It's not out there. Cause is not out there. Yeah. So that's the what was coming up for me during the meditation was the way in which I have so valued the 6 steps because it goes directly to what's causing the matter, and without blaming. We don't need to blame ourselves for our woundedness. We need to forgive ourselves for believing something that was never true. And that's actually the beauty of the 6 steps, is that it's not a correction as a process. It's not of trying to make things okay or to work out a communication skill. It's about seeing what you've seen before through a glass darkly, but now you can see it face to face. And what that does, which is the most profound thing, as that distortion field clears, the identification as a me falls away. And as that me falls away, then there are no more victims. There are no more sufferers, right? If that's a word. So that what we're doing as we clear the lens of perception, the distortion field, we are literally discreating an identity of the me that felt she was not good enough, she didn't do it right, all the other things that we know are the conclusions out of our childhood wound. So the reason this is so big and so profound is that we actually dispel the character that was created by the wounding. That me is no longer at play anymore. Whenever it is, it's because there's still something to be seen. There's something to be discreated. There's something to be forgiven. There is still some distortion pattern. And knowing that, we have total access to our reality. For decades, all of us who've been on spiritual paths, which I think would apply to everybody on the call and in the room today, is that we have been, to a greater or lesser degree, believing that we create our own reality, right? That was bandied around by all of us and by all the groups that we were in for decade after decade. But the way in which we do it was I've never found anything that points so specifically and gives access so specifically to the way in which how my reality shows up has everything to do with the lens that I see the world through, and that reflects, and that distortion field or that lens was created by an early wounding conclusion. So this technology and this potentiality, this possibility, is the most profound possibility that I've ever come upon. And because when that me is depleted, that's what happened for this body-mind unit. When we call it waking up, the me was gone, and then it was just life is happening, because there was nobody here anymore to be triggered or to be bullshitted or to be lied to or to be conned or to be included. There was no more me. And that's freedom. And now you are free to move around. It's a Southwest Airlines commercial. You're now free to move around the country. Okay? You're free to move into reality in this spacious ease and the love that it is already. Creation is all about love arising and showing up as a miraculous apparent other, like all of us as other. Light is arising as amazing settings and dramatic experiences, and we won't mention Asheville at this point. So we come home to ourselves, we drop what got created, the only aspect of our identity that's ever suffered. We see through it as the distortion field that it is. We can come to know ourselves in terms of the vehicle through our human design, through our astrology, through the class that Robin and I are going to be doing next week. Quick, I slipped that right in, didn't I? Yeah, so it's like knowing how the vehicle functions and understanding that the distortion field can be relieved. And then you have the fun of this incarnation. And I do believe that this incarnation, along with probably many that we may not remember or can't recall having been engaged in, but I believe that there are many, and that that's the fun of reality and existence and life, and our ease and freedom with allowing that, with the field of no judgment, Rumi's field, the field beyond right doing and wrong doing. But then I added last week, because of some work I was doing with someone, this field of allowing, everything to just be what it is. And you can only do that once there's not a me who can be imposed on or be subjected to whatever it is in this. But the allowing is the most it's the most effective potentiality or possibility for a reality arising out of the entanglement that we now, my most recent foray into kind of kindergarten quantum physics talks about the entanglement theory, where frequencies match each other and then something pops out like what we would call a synchronicity or a coincidence, right? So in this field of allowing, our mind is not caught and held in cause and effect, which is very linear. It's very limited energetically. It typically is cause and effect because somebody did something wrong and I want to know who it was, right? We are caught in that kind of linearity, whereas allowing opens up everything, because allowing is an aspect of love. And that's what we are available for in this this shift in perception, where we're not at risk. Our early wounded conclusion at the heart of the matter was fear. And the experience with that as an energetic frequency that's creating is not fun. It's going to be one difficulty after another, one limitation after another. But as we come into our true nature, the awake awareness, then that frequency can allow. Love is, I was just about to quote Ali McGraw, but I can't remember it. Love is never having to say you're sorry. Yeah. That was it, right? Now, love is the allowingness. Everything can just be whatever it is, because it doesn't mean anything about a me. If there's a me here, then allowing is a very high bar. Right? Just that far and no further. This is how much I can allow. But with the fullness of our true nature, knowing who we are, not being at risk because we don't believe we're good enough, or that we didn't do it right, then the allowing just opens up. And in that opening, the frequency of that opening is a higher possibility for creation, for our experience, for our connection with others. So that's the homily for today. But we're open for discussion now.